Hey, my dudes, what is happening? It is Wednesday. I've got some more art for you here whilst I chat. I wanted to talk this week about the myth of not being good enough. And something happened. And that sounds like it was some scandal or something. Nothing like that. It just it's nothing shady. It was just an event that happened that got me thinking a lot about this topic. And what had happened was that we had just finished up a contract. As you know, my art house does a lot of contract artwork for different game studios. And I need a lot of environment concept art right now. But this particular artist that I was working with, I wanted to send him more work, but he's like, well, I just don't do environments. I only do anime characters, like this one art style of character. And that limits all the jobs that I can send him, because that's not what clients always need. So he says to me, no, I don't want to do environments because I'm not good at it. I'm not as good as this other artist who's a rock star, by the way. And he's comparing himself to this guy. And he's like, I'm not looking shiny next to that guy. And I don't want people to think that I stink. Basically, I don't want people to see my dirty laundry. I don't want people to see my works in production, my development. I want to only look shiny. I want to only post stuff online when I'm looking like a rock star, when I'm kicking everybody else's ass. And that's a problem. Because how are you going to get better at something if you never even develop it, if you never show anybody? It's a catch-22, man. It's like you're this delicious, luscious, juicy-ass fruit and you're rotting on the vine. This is a terrible metaphor. You gotta let the world taste your fruit, brother. Basically, it's a mindset that if I'm not looking shiny, if I'm not looking spectacular, then I won't get any opportunities from this, or people will think less of me because they'll see my flaws and my failures. And first of all, you got to understand, this is normal. This is a normal feeling. Of course it's normal. It's healthy to want to not necessarily flaunt your flaws, or even your work in progress. No, I get it, man. I don't want to exactly post close-ups of my imperfections or anything like that, or draw attention to it. But I feel like if I took on that mentality about my work, I wouldn't have a career in art at all, let alone 140,000 subscribers on YouTube and a successful business with all these games that I've worked on in the past. There are far more incredible artists out there than me, that are, I would say, intimidating. And it's always felt that way. I've always thought, man, everybody's so good right now. If you ever think that to yourself, like, oh, I want to do art for this company, but everybody's just so good right now. You know what? It's never not been that way. I've always felt that way, that it's a big intimidating monster getting into the field of doing digital art in the modern era, especially in big AAA games. It's always felt that way. Like everybody's just so amazingly good and will never be good enough. But that doesn't stop me from still trying. And why? Because I happen to know the secret, man. And that secret is that you'll never be perfect. You'll never be perfect your whole life, especially if you choose a career in art. You're always going to be looking at your artwork and feeling like, man, I can do better. And that's a great thing. Why is that a great thing? Because it means that you're developing your critical eye. You're looking at it and you're going, ooh, I can do hands better than that. Or, oh, I can do lighting better than that. Or I can do this thing that I couldn't do before. And if you don't have that ability, you won't grow. So it's important for you to feel that you're not good enough. It's a good quality to have as an artist. It's actually the most successful artists that I know all have that kind of feeling of like, there's something I can learn from all of these other artists and I'm intimidated by them. That is the number one quality that I see amongst the most amazing artists that I know. My friend JP has it, and I almost feel like he beats himself up too much. My friend Grace Liu, who I worked with on Diablo, she has it, and she is a beast. She went from being an associate on Diablo to now I think she works at Airship Syndicate, and I think she's one of the most amazing painters I've ever seen in my life. It's because she's always humble, and she's always looking at everybody else's stuff and going, what can I learn from them? And oh man, I know my work isn't good enough, but I need to just post it out there anyway. And I think that the more you do that, the more you collect feedback, the more you find an audience, you find a market, you find the people who like that type of thing, and you listen to those people, not just the naysayers, because if you're showing your stylized artwork to a person who likes photorealistic stuff, they're going to trash it, and that's not helpful for you. But if you're showing it to your audience, you're showing it to the people that you are like you, who like the same similar kind of stuff as you, and you're getting feedback like, oh, this hand looks weird, or oh, the eyes are uneven, or that kind of like constructive feedback is going to be what makes you grow. And if you never show it to anyone, you'll never get that kind of feedback, and you'll never train your own critical eye. You'll never really be able to build up your own sense of like what will make my work look more awesome. So, okay, enough. Actionable items. Let's talk about actionable items. Let's talk about things that you can do to get over this for yourself. One, you could start up a second social media account that's just for feedback. Two, you could start up a different screen name and get involved in a community if you really want to keep your brand sort of separate from what you're building an audience for. And this makes a difference whether you're an established artist with an existing audience or whether you're kind of just getting started with a lot of this stuff. If you're just getting started with all this stuff, post all the time. Collect feedback from everybody, and don't listen to the naysayers. Just collect feedback from everybody. And when you start getting likes on something, you know you're starting to do something right. If you're a seasoned pro and you're like, well, I mostly just do characters, but I want to get better at environments, start up a second account somewhere, post on the forums, get involved in communities. Nowadays, they're everywhere. Good God. There's like Johnny Fiberman down the road. He's got a social media hub where you can go and get feedback on your environment, concept art, and illustrations. Like, go and get feedback from a group of people who like that style of work. You know, if you're a League of Legends fan, go post your artwork on League of Legends fan pages. Or on their forums, and get feedback for how well you're designing, you know, environments for that setting, for that world. If you're intimidated, make up a different identity for yourself when you're online. I mean, the Beatles did this when they did Sgt. Pepper's. The reason they made Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, if you don't know much, I love music history, by the way, so I read all about this, watched interviews, is because they felt this intimidation of being the frickin' Beatles, and they're like, but we want to do something different. So, you know, hey, here's Billy Shears. You know, like, hey, this isn't the Beatles, this is Sgt. Pepper's, right? It's a totally different identity. David Bowie, same thing. He was super shy. He didn't like being too much of the focus of attention, feeling that criticism on every step of everything he did, and he wanted to do weird stuff. So he started creating identities. That's why we have Ziggy Stardust. The other thing I want you to acknowledge is that maybe what you're making is actually secretly awesome. Like my friend Grace and my friend JP. It's like, I don't want this to go to their heads. Damn it, I shouldn't have named them by name. But the thing is like, they are awesome. And they're more critical on their work than any of their fans or audience will ever be. Man, I never know when a video or a painting will be popular. I'll do a drawing and I'll think, this stinks. I should never let anybody see this. And then I post it anyway, and it ends up being one of my most popular images or videos that I've ever made. And then sometimes I think, oh man, I'm going to really nail it with this one. I'm giving them exactly what they want. Oh yeah, I'm rocking this one. And then it gets like it's a stinker. Nobody even likes it. That rarely ever happens to me, though. But no, it happens. It happens to every artist. You never exactly know for certain that this one's going to be a crowd pleaser or not. And some artists built an entire career around this. I won't name names, but there was a dude in the 80s and the 90s who drew comic books, couldn't draw feet at all. And this dude was the most famous comic book artist in the world at 19 years old. And why? Because he wasn't filled with self-doubt. So the problem is not that whether or not you have great skill. The problem is whether or not you have a lot of self-doubt. If you listen too much to that inner voice that's always criticizing yourself, let yourself be free, man. You're like a peacock. You gotta fly. Get in the habit of finishing your artwork, not perfecting your artwork. When you finish your artwork, you can evaluate it and you go, oh, how do I make that better next time? How do I get that one to look better? And then you can collect feedback from the right people. And the next time you post something in that style or in that type of content, you'll be better at it than you were the last time you did. That's how that works. So get out there, post your environments or whatever it is that you're challenged with. Tag me over there on Twitter. I do a lot of retweeting. This piece that you watched me do in this video was done in about 3.5 hours. Now, how do I perform such magic? Well, I cover all that over in my box set of tutorials. There's a lot of trickery and brushes and stuff. I also just recently put together an awesome art book. This is the World of Twilight Monk, which is a collection of 88 pages of character designs and backstory for characters in the universe of Twilight Monk. Dudes, it's E3 week, man. There's so much news going on right now. I gotta get going. So until next time, I will catch y'all man yonder bon, and ciao, baby. Oh, yeah.